Hey, QVS AP US History students. I hope this message finds you well, considering the circumstances. I know there's a lot of tension in the world right now, whether it be COVID or what's going on in Ukraine. I don't want to make light of any of those situations. I know that you're feeling a lot of stress right now related to that. But I want to encourage you to kind of push on. And I wanted to take the opportunity in this video today, and I'm sorry for not sending it in yesterday's message, but to talk to you about part 2 of the essential unit test this week. It's going to be our very first DBQ, or formal DBQ, I should say, because you have seen the DBQ on the mock exams that you have done so far this year, but this one will be the one that you are going to be assessed on for the very first time. And with that being said, I would be remiss if I didn't kind of highlight an important activity that you're doing this week before you get to the unit test, and that has to do with the activity that you do at the end of every unit, for that matter, on the document analysis. So I want to take some time to talk to you about that activity and to show you around, and also not to make your life harder, but to take you to the selective unit on test prep and show you the DBQ practice little sessions and tips that I have there that you might consider doing before you take part 2 of the unit test this week. And even if you take part 2 like Sunday night, because you take a little bit of extra time to squeeze in these review activities from the test prep section, I think that is a good idea. So let me take you to the course page and really talk you through everything. It'll be better for you to see it than me just kind of lecturing you about it right here in this way. I'll take you to the course page, show you the different activities that I'm talking about, and even take you to part 2 of the Unit 5 test on the DBQ. Again, it's your first DBQ that you'll be assessed on, so this is not to make you nervous, but it is important. And it is one of the free response questions that we really have to get you prepared for if you're to be successful on the AP exam. So let me go to the course page and show you around and talk about some of those activities there. I'm going to start by scrolling down, and we're going to go to this test prep unit here. So take a look here. Maybe some of you already did these, maybe not, but go ahead and click that one open, Selective Unit 1. And at this time, I trust you all did Quintile 1 mock exam. It looks like a couple of you did the Quintile 2 mock exam on my AP, which is wonderful. I do believe I gave you feedback there if you did those. I want you to consider these essay writing tips and activities on the selective unit page prior to taking part 2 of the Unit 5 test. Because I've created a whole bunch of little activities. Most of them are based on Steve Heimler's videos. Love him or hate him, but he does give good tips and strategies for AP US history. And in this first activity, it's kind of just a general basic one on how to write the DBQ and takes you through a whole writing session. Then I have a separate one on just thesis statements. So I've chosen a period in US history. It doesn't happen to be the period that we're studying right now. In fact, it is the next period that you will investigate, period 6, up until like 1896. But there's a thesis writing activity in here about the Haymarket incident, and you'll be exposed to like good and bad examples of different thesis statements and how to make your thesis statement more analytical. Then there's a separate activity on how to analyze documents. This one is really good, and you guys have a lot of practice with analysis of documents because we do it for every unit, but you might check that one out. It might give you some tips on how to get through them fairly quickly. There's another activity on how to contextualize. This is an important point for the introduction of every essay or free response question that you write. Contextualization is important in establishing the time period, which is the emphasis for the essay or prompt that you are given. And you really have to kind of go beyond what the question is asking you to create like context of just in general what was going on at that time in that place, in order to demonstrate to the readers that you have a strong understanding of periodization. So this one gets into how to contextualize. And then finally, there's an activity on how to group documents in the DBQ. You need to be able to use the documents effectively in responding to a prompt. And I feel like they used to require grouping. They don't require it anymore. But I feel like in grouping the documents, it gives you a kind of like a real valuable way in order to use them effectively as they relate to any claim that you make related to the prompt or question. So, and when I say grouping them, it's really like categorizing them in whether they're pro-slavery or anti-slavery, or I think you kind of get the point there. Whether the tone is negative or positive toward a certain period, whether they're female writers or male writers, whether they're political cartoons or another sort of document. But there's lots of different ways to group them, and in grouping them, you can really use them effectively in response to the prompt that they give you. So going kind of back, consider doing those activities if you haven't done so already, because they'll kind of get you in the right mindset in terms of what the readers expect in your response for a DBQ. And then I'm going to take you to the unit that you are finishing up this week, and I want to kind of scroll down to this activity at the end here, and it's the document analysis activity. So this one is designed extremely similar to all of the others, although I have added a couple parts, and you'll kind of see them immediately when you open up the activity, because there you go, there's Steve Heimler, and what he does in this video, and it's quite brilliant, he has a past DBQ, and he shows you how the methods that he uses in order to analyze the documents in preparation for responding to the prompt. The documents for this DBQ that he walks you through can be found right here. So you might want to open them while you're listening to him. And I just want you to pay attention to his process, because you're going to repeat that process, but with different documents. Okay. So watch that video. It's just a few minutes long. And again, it'll kind of get you in that mindset of what they're looking for in order for you to create an effective response to this type of question. Then go on to the next page. This page is hugely important. It is the rubric that I will use and the readers will use in grading your response. It'll pop up there in a minute. In grading your response, and it's important for you to be familiar with all parts of the rubric so that you can achieve the highest score possible. It really is hard to earn a 7. But I think the best way to kind of get you to that point is just kind of creating awareness in terms of what you're going to have to do. You get 1 point for the thesis, 1 point for contextualization. Both of these probably are going to occur within the context of your first paragraph. The evidence is really going to come from the documents and any historical evidence that you will give beyond the documents. So you get 2 points for using the documents. And notice here it says at least 6 of the documents. You're only going to get 1 point if you use 3 of the documents. There are 7 documents in total. And then you get a point for evidence beyond the documents. So pay attention and read these little caveats here so you understand what they mean by beyond the documents. And then finally, there's 2 possible points for analysis and reasoning. So explaining and creating nuance within the context of your essay. So there's a few questions here about the DBQ rubric too, just to make sure that you've kind of read. And then starting from page 3 of this activity on, here's where you're going to be exposed to the different documents. Now, what I say here, read these directions very carefully because these are the documents that you're going to use in part 2 of Essential Unit 5 test. So I'm kind of giving them to you ahead of time. There are 11 in total. You're going to have to pick 7 of them. Well, I'm going to have you first go through each 11 and answer some multiple choice questions like this. But by the time you get to the last document, I'm sorry, I should go to page 13. The last document, what I'm telling you at the end is you have to choose 7 of them, okay, to conduct a HIP analysis on, and those same 7 are going to be the 7 documents that you're going to use on part 2 of the Essential Unit 5 test. Now, my suggestion is for you to use this worksheet. This is Steve Heimler's creation, and it's a fast and easy way to do the HIP analysis for all of the documents on one page. Now, do note that there's only room for 5 documents, so you're going to have to create like another little subcategory for document 6 and 7, and I'm sorry about that ahead of time. But then there's a section for document grouping, for a thesis statement related to the documents, and a place for you to put evidence beyond the documents. So this is really important, and it's a great worksheet that you can use in order to be prepared for the part 2 of the test and the DBQ that you will write this week. Now I'm going to take you to part 2 of the test, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek to the prompt, okay? Now, I don't want you to write the essay ahead of time. I do want you to write it in here. And I guess I have really no way of knowing if you write it ahead of time or not. There will be a counter for 45 minutes, but I guess you could leave it running, and I would be none the wiser, but I'm going to ask to be honest and kind of forthright in terms of that. But there is the prompt for you, okay? For you to have a sneak peek. Again, please don't write the essay ahead of time, but use the prompt to work through this worksheet, okay? And it's from 1775 to 1830. Many African Americans gained freedom from slavery, yet during the same period, the institution of slavery expanded. Explain why both of those changes took place. Analyze the ways that both free African Americans and enslaved African Americans responded to the challenges confronting them. And I'm going to tweak this a little bit. You're going to see the wording different. I'm going to change the 1830 to 1865, okay, because some of the documents go beyond 1830, and I want you to not have to reason your way out of using them. But I just kind of noticed that little problem right there right now as I'm reviewing it and talking to you about it today. So I am going to change 1830 to 1860. So kind of consider that when you are thinking about how you're going to contextualize, because that's quite a time period for you to have to look at. Okay, so let me bring me back to the top here. So please kind of take this advice into consideration and going into part 2 of this unit test. Work through that document very carefully. And again, if you haven't done those test prep activities related to the DBQ, consider doing them ahead of time. They're probably going to take you about an hour and a half to do, but I think in the end it will be very valuable, and will help you prepare for doing well on part 2 of the Unit 5 test. Okay, please contact me if you have any questions. I'm happy to help, meet with you, answer them through chat or in a call, however you want. All right, good luck. Bye.